noticed a trail of blood leading to the locked terrace door. Relationship between his daughter and his servant had taken both their lives. Her throat a deep cut. The life that had been so full of light was ended with a single brutal slash. A ghost that haunts the house on L32. A sad memory of a truth that will likely never be found. Imagine a city, a modern India, where ambition and aspiration hum in the air, inhabited by hardworking, mostly educated, upper middle class Indians. This is Noida, a satellite city of New Delhi, a place of carefully planned sectors and cooperative societies. Within this world, a home at Jalvayu Vihar wasn't just a house. It was a testament to the hard work of two well-educated dentists. Here in the heart of the NCR, where the summer heat pierced like a non-seasonal thick blanket, life was meant to be predictable, orderly. Secrets were meant for the old city, for the narrow gullies of Old Delhi, Purani Delhi. Not for these modern gated colonies, these satellite cities. Yet, in the early hours of May 16, 2008, a single devastating crack appeared in this perfect facade, shattering not just a family's life, but a whole nation's faith in the illusion of safety. This is not a simple crime story. It is the story of a home that became a tomb, of a girl whose name became associated with a question, a punchline. Welcome to Welted Marigold, where we share dark and mysterious stories from South Asia and beyond. I'm your storyteller Ambika, and this is the story of Aarushi Talwar. Aarushi. Aarushi, the name means the first rays of sun. Suraj ki pehli kirne. And for her parents, Dr. Rajesh and Nupur Talwar, she was exactly that. A sunbeam, a kaleidoscope of bright colors in their otherwise orderly, professional, predictable lives. They were the epitome of the urban Indian dream. Two dentists, educated, with a successful practice, a beautiful home, and a daughter who was their pride and joy. Their world, built on logic and precision, was one that should have been safe. But on that terrible morning on May 16, 2008, the world they had so carefully built crumbled to dust, and in its place a question was born. Who killed Aarushi Talwar? The Talwar's apartment in Sector 25, Noida, was not a grand mansion, but a comfortable, well-kept home. L32, a first-floor flat in a cooperative society. A small slice of life for successful Indian families. For many, it was the perfect life. A doting daughter, a successful career, the cooling from an air conditioner you could afford, offering a break from the oppressive heat. Aarushi was the center of their universe. A 14-year-old, almost 14-year-old, in the early delicate stage of her teens. Her world was a colorful space of school friendships, late-night phone calls, and the sweet, dizzying confusion of first crushes, just like any other girl. She was an artist, not just with a paintbrush, but with the way she lived her adolescence. A mix of innocent rebellion and her daughter's fierce, unwavering love for her family. We know her from her photographs. A girl with a round, open face, a cascade of dark hair, and a smile that held 1,000 unspoken, unfinished dreams. The kind of girl who was every parent's pride, a living testament to their success. Just a week before her 14th birthday, her parents had celebrated early by giving her a new camera. You know those digital cameras? A small detail in a life of bright promises that would soon be extinguished. And her parents, Rajesh and Nupur, were architects of their dream, of her dreams. They were a couple bound by shared ambition and the quiet rhythm of a life lived together. Rajesh, a man of precise movements and quiet intensity. A dentist who could bring order to a crooked smile. Nupur, his partner, also a dentist by profession, whose every gesture spoke of calm, collected nature. Theirs was a world built on the visible, the verifiable. They fixed things, they made them better. But on the night of May 15th, 2008, something broke, and it was a wound they could never fix. As the night fell, a silent, unseen drama began to unfold. The details are as fractured as a shattered piece of mirror, pieced together from conflicting accounts and media frenzy. A television show, a late dinner, the final click of a laptop lid. Tuk. The summer breeze with the scent of jasmine from the balcony held a deceptive peace. In her room, Aarushi was likely in the space in between wakefulness and sleep, perhaps dreaming of the digital camera her parents had recently bought her. In their own bedroom, the parents, so close and yet so many doors away, were unaware of the storm brewing beneath the calm surface of their home. The constant monotonous drone of the air conditioner masked the sounds from the rest of the flat, a seemingly innocent detail that would later become a key point in a murder investigation. Now, for those of you from India, you would know this, that it's not an uncommon thing for an air conditioner to make noise, especially in the early 2000s, when it was just seen as the normal workings of an older air conditioner. Then there was Hemraj, the Talwar's domestic help, a man from a village in Nepal whose life was as simple as his worn-out shirt. He was the invisible force who kept their household running, the one who made the tea, the chai on the Saturdays and Sundays, on the evenings after they returned from work, cleaned the floors, and quietly existed in their home. In the world of social classes in South Asia, the relationship between a sahib, a master, an employer, and naukar, as servant, helper, is a delicate and interesting one. It's an unspoken rule that still exists. It is a world of deference and distance, of a quiet power imbalance that can turn a home into two separate worlds in one world. Hemraj lived in his own world, in his own small private world within the flat, a world that was as separate from the Talwar's world as two different continents. On that night, he was a silent witness, staying on the edge of a story that would soon consume him. The Talwars, like many Naukar Chakar wale log, people with servants, with helpers in Noida, trusted their domestic help. But there was always a clear line that Hemraj couldn't cross. A line that, according to the police, was crossed that night. Arushi's father, Rajesh, had a history of suspicion, fueled by rumors. He had even tried to install a security camera at their home, but Nupur, his wife, had resisted. A small detail, but in hindsight, a chilling one. The morning of May 16th arrived not with the gentle rays of the sun, but with a terrifying scream that broke the morning quiet and calm. The Talwar's maid, Bharti Mandal, arrived to find the flat door latched from the outside, a detail so simple yet so crucial. For those of you who have lived in these kind of flats, you would know latching the door from outside requires you to be outside. This was a classic Indian latch, one that you'd pull down and turn to secure. Bharti had arrived a little earlier than usual, a little before 6 a.m., as was her daily routine, to do the morning cleaning and help prepare breakfast. She rang the doorbell, an act that would, in its simple way, become a key piece of the mystery. Nupur Talwar eventually opened it from the inside, a woman whose face was already a mask of 1,000 unspeakable things. Rajesh Talwar emerged, a man who seemed to have aged a lifetime in a single night. A single glance into Arushi's room was enough to tear the fabric of their entire lives. The scene was a horrifying sight, painted in shades of crimson. Arushi lay on her bed, a small still form under a sheet, her throat a deep cut. The life that had been so full of light was ended with a single brutal slash. In the immediate moments of discovery, Rajesh Talwar began to accuse the missing house help, Hemraj, setting in motion a narrative that would soon be shattered. The initial shock, the grief, was a tidal wave. But as the first responders, neighbors, friends, and the confused, unprepared police of Noida flooded the flat, a strange stillness descended upon the Talwars. The crime scene was rather extremely chaotic, a chaotic blur of people contaminating what little evidence there was. The Noida police, a force known more for its bureaucracy than its investigative skills, handled the scene like a tourist attraction. They allowed everyone in, let them touch things, and even allowed the media to set up cameras right outside. It was a total tamasha, a total spectacle. An autopsy report would later reveal that Arushi had died from a head injury with a blunt object before her throat was slit. The report also noted her hymen was ruptured and her cervix unduly large, a finding that would fuel the public's obsession with a salacious, honor-killing motive. Despite the fact that the doctor who performed the autopsy had absolutely no prior experience with female postmortems. In a society where public displays of emotion are often expected and even performed in moments of tragedy, the beating of chest, these things are not uncommon to see. Arushi's parents' controlled grief, their calm behavior, became a puzzle box of suspicion. Was it shock or something else? The lack of the usual public tears and emotional breakdowns, so common in a country like India, made them seem cold, distant, and calculating to many. The narrative, like a rumor whispered and embellished, began to make shape. The first and most convenient suspect was the missing domestic help, Hemraj. The logic was as simple as it was brutal. A servant had killed the daughter of the house and run away. This was a narrative that fit neatly into a pre-existing cultural bias, into the social disparity. But the story's simplicity was a lie. The next day, after 36 hours, as the police investigation, already full of mistakes, flawed, and missed chances, continued, a retired police officer visiting the scene for a moment of quiet condolence noticed a trail of blood leading to the locked terrace door. What lay behind that door would change everything. It was Hemraj's body. The discovery of Hemraj's body on the terrace was a devastating shock. His body was decomposed and the smell of death hung in the air, covered by a flimsy cooler panel. His throat, like Arushi's, was slit. The initial comfortable narrative of a servant's betrayal fell apart. This wasn't a crime of convenience. It was a double murder. A story with far deeper, darker roots, with Hemraj now victim. The focus of the investigation, like a harsh spotlight, shifted. The first casualty was the Talwar's private grief. Every glance, every gesture, every hush conversation was now a piece of evidence. The media, a hungry beast, descended upon the story, spinning theories, creating motives, and judging a family on their perceived lack of public tears. The honor-killing theory, a dark and terrible idea in the South Asian context, was floated. The idea that a father consumed by rage and shame over a supposed relationship between his daughter and his servant had taken both their lives. It was a theory that appealed to the society that understood the violent, old-fashioned, male-dominated ideas of its own culture, even if it was a theory without a shred of concrete proof. The local police's investigation was a perfect example of failure. They messed up the crime scene, contaminating evidence, and allowing the media circus to trample over crucial details. The key, the very first piece of the puzzle, was lost in the chaos. The first forensic examiner, however, noticed signs that Hemraj's room had been entered by others, finding 3 empty glasses with alcohol in his room. The blood smeared golf club, the alcohol bottle with its damning mix of blood types, all of it, through a combination of carelessness and incompetence, became a blurred, unreliable smear. It was as if the crime scene was not a place of truth, but a clean notebook for every person's prejudice and assumption to be scribbled upon. The case was eventually handed over to the Central Bureau of Investigation, the CBI, India's premier investigative agency. But even they seemed to get lost in the confusing parts of suspicion. Their first team, a group of dedicated professionals, cleared the parents and arrested 3 other men: the Talwar's clinic assistant, Krishna, and 2 other domestic helps, Rajkumar and Vijay Mandal. These men too were scapegoats, easy to pin a crime on in a society where the poor are often considered disposable. Their confessions, extracted under questionable circumstances after they had been illegally confined and tortured by the police, and during questionable narco tests, these were deemed inadmissible by the court. The lack of evidence was so obvious, so complete, that the case against them fell apart completely. The story of the first CBI team is a study in investigative failure and political pressure. Their lead investigator, Arun Kumar, was a respected officer. He had a different theory, a theory that pointed to the 3 domestic helps. Their confessions, he said, while obtained under questionable means, hinted at a secret Daru alcohol party in Hemraj's room. The noise of the Talwar's air conditioner, according to this theory, was the key of their perfect crime. But this team was suddenly replaced. A second CBI team was now formed with a new lead, AGL Call. His mandate was clear: forget the domestic helps, let's focus in on the parents. And they pieced together a new theory, a story built not on physical evidence, but on a mosaic of circumstantial details and a prosecutor's compelling, if legally weak, storytelling. The last scene theory became their central pillar. The Talwars were the last people to see Arushi and Hemraj alive. The locked doors of the flat, the lack of an external intruder, and the supposed cleanup of the crime scene all pointed to, they argued, to a cold and calculated act by the parents. In short, this last scene theory meant last seen by the parents, so the parents committed the crime. The motive, though never definitively proven, was again painted with the brush of a supposed honor killing. They even claimed the golf club from the Talwar's collection could have been the murder weapon. In 2013, after a trial that was as much a media spectacle as a legal proceeding, a special CBI's court convicted Rajesh and Nupur Talwar for the murders of their daughter Arushi and their domestic help Hemraj. The judge's verdict was a strong criticism, describing the parents as freaks in the history of mankind. He based his decision on 26 points of circumstantial evidence, a series of inferences drawn from the silence, the behavior, and the perceived unnaturalness of the couple's actions in the days following the murder. Take a look at this video. In this video, Nupur Talwar was invited by his news channel host to speak with her.
And I know with all conviction, 100%, Rajesh doted on his daughter. It couldn't be the way that they're suggesting this. It's totally untrue. We were such a happy family, Sonia. I mean, I used to always think I must have done something really nice in my last life to have such a wonderful family. We had so many plans for her. We were planning a holiday in the on the 15th of June, we planned a birthday party for her, and he kept telling her, Arushi, call as many people as you want. She used to say, Dad, it might get expensive. He said, doesn't matter. I'm going to do your birthday party. You just do what you want, Sonia. I don't know what to say. All I can say is that I have faith in the legal system, and I hope justice is done. More than that, I have faith in God.
Look at the comments below this video. This became a topic of debate by the entire nation because Nupur Talwar didn't seem like a natural, mourning mother. Talwars were sentenced to life imprisonment and they were sent to Dasna jail, a world away from their comfortable home. For many, the verdict was justice. The parents, with their controlled grief and professional detachment, had always seemed like a blank page onto which the public could project their own worst fears about the elite and the secretive. But for a growing number of people, the conviction felt like a legal mistake, a victory of a compelling narrative over an absence of proof. The CBI's case was built on a series of what-ifs. The watchman, or as they're called, Chaukidar, was supposed to be guarding the building was never properly questioned. The terrace door, which was found locked from the inside, became a point of contention. The CBI claimed only the Talwars could have locked it, but the Talwars' lawyers argued it was a flimsy movable door that anyone could have locked from the outside using a simple wire or a simple key. Every single detail, every small piece of the puzzle had two different stories. The Talwars, now prisoners, began a long and difficult journey through the Indian legal system. Their lives were reduced to the cold, hard realities of a prison cell, a place where their professional titles and social standing meant nothing. But they fought back. With the help of a new legal team, they appealed their conviction to the Allahabad High Court. And 4 years later, in 2017, 11 years after Arushi's death, a new verdict was delivered. The Allahabad High Court, in a detailed 250-page judgment, tore apart the lower court's reasoning. They meticulously debunked the 26 points of circumstantial evidence, one by one. The court's judgment was a damning critique of the CBI's investigation, highlighting the gaping holes and the reliance on guesswork rather than concrete proof. The benefit of the doubt, a cornerstone of criminal law, was given back to the accused. The court stated that the prosecution had failed to prove the guilt of the Talwars beyond a reasonable doubt. The conviction was overturned. Rajesh and Nupur Talwar were acquitted. They walked out of Dasna jail as free people. But freedom is a fragile thing. For the Talwars, it was not a joyous release, but an entry into a world where they had forever been marked, cleared by law, but still shadowed by the ghost of what people thought. Their lives were changed forever.
My first reaction is I started crying. I couldn't believe it. I just wept. The road ahead is first is they come home after 4 years of being incarcerated and pick up the thread, mourn the loss of their child and try to live a normal life, which really is going to be very, very difficult for them. But we are all there to support them and be with them.
Didn't do a proper job. All said and done, they've not done a proper job. And this thing has come very late. Who done it? That mystery always remains, So that should have been worked out long back.
So justice has
prevailed, yes, 100%, and truth has triumphed.
They had lost their daughter, their reputation, and a decade of their lives to a case that in the end had no clear answers. This was a tragedy of immense proportions, a family torn apart not once by a murderer, but a second time by the system itself. And so the story ends not with a resolution, but with a question mark. Who killed Aarushi Talwar and Hemraj Banjade? Was it an outsider who slipped in and out of the latched apartment like a phantom? Was it one of those other domestic helps? A theory that was so quickly discarded? Or was it, as the prosecution so convincingly argued, the parents, a dark secret buried deep within their seemingly perfect lives? The truth, it seems, remains a prisoner, locked away in a house of silence. The case of Arushi Talwar is a powerful lesson in how easily the truth can be broken and how strong a story can be built. It exposed the problems in India's investigative and judicial systems, the media's endless hunger for drama, and a society's willingness to condemn based on a whisper. Arushi's name, once a synonym for life full of promise, is now a symbol of a crime that remains unsolved, a ghost that haunts the house on L32, a sad memory of a truth that will likely never be found. After their acquittal in 2017, Rajesh and Nupur Talwar have kept a really low profile. Their lawyer stated that they were not in the state to resume their practice immediately after their release, while reports from their release suggest they offered to continue providing dental services to the inmates at the jail. Information about their current activities is really limited. If you're interested in learning more about this case, I'd recommend two books to you. The first one is by Aviruk Sen. It's called Aarushi. This book is a detailed account of the investigation and trial. The author got to attend the trial, access important documents, and interviewed key players in the case as well. The book is known for being a meticulous and chilling account of the events. The second book that I will recommend to you is The Killing of Aarushi, Order of Justice by Rajesh Talwar. Written by Arushi's father itself, this book offers his and Nupur's side of the story, as well as their perspective on the entire case. It presents arguments and explanations from their point of view, raising questions about how the investigation was handled and how the verdict was flawed in the beginning. The echoes of Arushi Talwar's story resonate across continents, finding a chilling parallel in the unsolved murder of John Bennett Ramsey. Anyone who's heard about that case will be able to draw the parallels. Imagine another seemingly perfect family, another young life extinguished within the supposed safety of their own home. Just like Arushi, 6-year-old John Bennett was the center of her parents' world. And just like the Talwars, the Ramseys faced intense public scrutiny and suspicion. Their every reaction dissected under the harsh glare of the media. In both Noida and Boulder, USA, the initial crime scenes became chaotic, critical evidence potentially lost in the aftermath. The investigations, of course, plagued by the missteps and shifting theories, ultimately left more questions than answers. Though the legal outcomes differed, the Talwars were eventually acquitted while the Ramsey case remains officially unsolved. The underlying themes of parental suspicion, media frenzy, and the elusive nature of truth in the face of a tragedy remain hauntingly similar. For those gripped by the mystery surrounding the Talwar case, the story of John Bennett Ramsey, you can check it out on Netflix or you can read about it, offers another descent into the complex, wired mesh of an unsolved family tragedy. You can draw out your own conclusions about these matters. Perhaps in comparing these distant yet eerily similar events, we can gain a deeper understanding of how truth can become obscured and justice delayed regardless of the geography. And this is the end of our today's episode. Until the next episode, stay kind, stay safe.